Welcome to another edition of Social Media Help Desk. I'm your host, Tiffany Lundberg. I am joined by our managing content editor, Jeff, and our other content editor, Ivana.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us this afternoon. We have a lot of exciting topics to talk about today. Twitter is going to be one of the topics. We'll talk about some new features or a new feature you could see. Also, Ivana's going to kind of get into it because she's an expert. You love Twitter.
I just love Twitter. Yeah, it's my favorite.
So she's going to go over some steps and some things you should think about when tweeting. We're also going to talk about a little bit about ourselves today, and Jeff's going to take over on that topic. We're going to talk about KWSM and how we continue to grow our employees here and kind of the processes that we take in that sense.
That's right.
And then we're going to talk about some stuff in the news, social media news, of course. We do that every week. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about a new feature with Twitter. We're also going to talk about a new feature with Facebook, which I think is pretty interesting, and something that you should look out for on LinkedIn as well. So let's start with the news, and we are going to talk about that new feature on Facebook. So here's the deal. Facebook is thinking about adding a new feature to your feed. So it would be a prototype, and it would filter the way that you see your post. So they're hoping that it might help people scroll longer, which of course we know that that's what they want. So they're going to break it down. They're going to filter your feed into 3 tabs. So the first tab would be the most relevant. The second tab would be the most recent, and then the third tab would be seen post. So the most relevant tab would be like your standard
The
feed.
things you see the most, like the posts you see the most, or the pages that you would be.
Yeah, so it'd be like the feed that you see now. So the one
It's
that
the algorithm, probably the strongest algorithm section.
you think is the strongest
Yeah,
algorithm.
I do. For most relevant.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like things that you interact with the
Right.
most will be on that one.
And then things that people are liking. So it's essentially like the feed that we're seeing now. And then you could see the seen post would be posts that you've already seen. So if you wanted to go back and say you're like, oh, I saw something really interesting, you could go back and kind of sort that out as well.
I like that because I think there are times that I'm busy, I check in on Facebook, I see a post, it's on my feed or shows up somewhere, and then poof, it's gone. I think about it a day later or 12 hours later or what have you. And it takes me a while to scroll, and I can't remember who shared it, and it may have been And so now I can go look once this beta version, I guess, releases. I can go look, and it should see all the things that I've seen, which should clear up kind of, oh yeah, here's all this stuff.
I like that too because they have the save feature on Facebook, but every time I save, I don't know where to go after that. So I'm not really sure. Like Instagram has a good way to do the save things because you can find it pretty easily. But I think that would be good for the ones that you want to see again. So
it's definitely interesting. I know that I'll go home sometimes and tell my husband, oh, I saw this on Facebook or so-and-so. Did you hear about so-and-so? And then you can't find it. So this way it makes it easier to gossip at home too. All right. So LinkedIn is also introducing something new as well. So they've added a new section to the profiles to highlight content, and it's called the featured section. So it's a way to find or set specific content for visitors to see when they view your profile, which we were discussing earlier, and we said sometimes it's hard to find content.
Yeah, I mean, when I first go into someone's profile, I just normally see, whatever position they have with their job, their work experience, and things like that. I feel like seeing posts, I really only see when I'm on the feed. I don't really go back and look at someone's posts after the fact onto their profile. But I did think that was kind of a good idea for things like we have boot camp, and that's a month long. So maybe if we had one of our posts about boot camp featured on our featured section in our profile, that would be easier for people to find.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think we spend a lot of time telling clients, create content on LinkedIn and get it in a place where people can see it. If you're a user, you may publish the article in a post and make it a little more prominent there. But you should have that place very much like a pinned post at the top, but making sure that you have the best content. It could be promoting something, like for us, it could be boot camp, or it could be video studio day, or it could be just a blog that's getting a lot of traction that we want to get out more. I think it's a great opportunity for clients, or for businesses, I should say, to use it, and personal people to kind of find that one piece. And I think a lot of times people don't. They spit things out and they don't really realize, like, hey, this is my strong piece for the week or for the last couple of weeks, and this is really what I want people to see, or this talks about my business or what we do best. Let's keep this featured. And so I hope a lot of businesses will use that. And
I'm curious to see where it's going to be on the profile, because normally right now it has, all their job information and whatnot, and then there is a section that says post and activity, but that's like pretty far down. You kind of have to scroll in, so I'm wondering where that's going to be.
It should be interesting. It's a great way for brands to connect and really get to know who you are and what you want to talk about, how you want to represent yourself. Twitter will also be doing something new as well. So they've dabbled with camera features in the past, but they just recently bought a new startup. It's called Chroma, and it was actually developed by 7 people who were ex-Facebook and Instagram employees, and they built kind of a photo and editing feature into this app. So it should be interesting, because we know that Twitter is so focused on words and characters, and it's always been that Instagram and Facebook are more visual. So
yeah, I'm interested to see what, I don't know. I think when people do post a lot of videos on Twitter, and you can post videos for like 17 minutes. It doesn't have to be like 1 minute like Instagram is. And so I'm wondering, maybe that's why, because you can have a long time to watch videos, things like that. But I feel like the functionality, I use it mostly just for text or, like just short things. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say that, I think the interesting thing about Twitter is, like you said, a lot of people are just texting, and I always say it's the emotional channel. Like, people let it fly there, and they don't care. I'm leaving my husband, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm going to go smoke a joint. They'll say whatever they want on there, and they don't care. There's no filter. It's really the no filter channel. But really, the biggest assets you see that come across on there are GIFs or GIFs, however you want to call them. A lot of people use that as kind of that casual, interactive piece. And so I think maybe if they had, I don't know the depth of this and whether or not that's just your video and how you're going to edit it on there, but if they supplied video and you were able to edit things, who knows? It may make the channel a little more fun, because it's kind of freewheeling, and there's a lot of debating going on there and arguing.
I love it.
Yeah, no, it's why we watch it, right? It's like a car crash. You don't want to love what you do. And so, it'll be exciting to see. It does feel like Twitter is that one platform that's kind of been the same since it began.
Yeah.
And they've added some things here and there, live streaming, and they added some better moments content and things like that. But Twitter really hasn't evolved in a user standpoint. They expanded the characters from 140 to 280, but this is probably will be a big shock to people when it's implemented in its fullest.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see how it turns out. As I mentioned earlier, you love Twitter. Well, both of you like Twitter. And you're kind of an expert on Twitter. So you were going to give us some points, because especially if you're a business, you don't want your tweet to be a car crash, right? There are some really important things that you need to think about when posting.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of people ask us how often should they be tweeting, and that's kind of an interesting question, because there really isn't a set answer to that. It really depends on your business, what's going on in the world, what you do, your services. There's so many things. So I kind of broke it down there's different aspects that you can think about when you are creating a strategy for how many times you should be tweeting. So the first one is really understanding the lifespan of a tweet. People are tweeting nonstop, it's going and going. And so every time I go on Twitter, at least, I know that there's going to be a completely different set of tweets than I saw even 5 minutes ago or an hour ago. And so usually a tweet's lifespan is about 15 to 20 minutes. And so that's really something important to keep in mind, because you don't want to just post, say I posted a tweet of my blog. You want to keep posting that. That doesn't mean you have to post it one time and then it's done forever, because there is a chance that someone might have not seen it because they weren't on Twitter at that time. So really being timely about your tweets is important, and just making sure you can totally, resurface any other old tweets that you've done before, just reword them a little bit, maybe do a different picture. There's so many different ways that you can still get the same content out there, but just kind of reusing it in a different, more creative way.
Well, and Twitter's unique in the fact that if you only have if your audience follows fewer people, they may see you more often. But if they follow a lot of people on the channel, then that timeline is full.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it is always moving. And so While that stat is probably an average, I think for active Twitter users that follow a lot of accounts, brands and news outlets and so on and so forth, I think it can even be less.
Oh, yeah,
if
definitely.
you're sitting there, it may be gone in 6 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so you're right, catching people, most people probably don't have, I guess if you love Twitter, you're on it all the time, but for people that work all day or do things, they may only check in every now and then. They don't have a regular schedule for it.
Exactly.
Whereas I think some people probably get up in the morning and they check Facebook and Instagram before work or while they're having coffee or making breakfast or getting ready in the morning. And then they probably do it on their lunch break and they probably do it in the afternoon, which is why we post the way we do, is to catch people when they're on. Twitter, they're on around the clock.
Right.
You know, and as we see, there's people that drunk tweet all the time, right? And so you never know who you're going to hit when.
Yeah.
And so it is big brands, news agencies, they maximize their content.
Mm-hmm.
And so Twitter is really the one channel where you can repeat and you get a free pass because it doesn't live anywhere. Most people do not go look at your profile to see what you've tweeted.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, keeping that in mind, you don't want to run the same tweet 13 times in a row with
Yeah.
the same image. Like, change it up, change the wording. If you've got prime content, keep the link, maybe change the wording, use a new image just to freshen it up for people that have seen it. Maybe it didn't catch their eye the first time, but that's the only time when you look at someone's profile and they've got the exact same thing tweeted down, you're like, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly. Like from a consumer's perspective, I follow more than 1,000 accounts on Twitter,
Oh my
and I'm more of a
gosh.
I love it. Yes.
What's wrong with
I
that?
told you she loves Twitter.
I follow news feeds. I follow, a bunch of brands. I follow my friends. Yeah.
But how do you keep track of all those tweets?
So I don't sit there and I don't look at Twitter for 2 hours. You
Right.
know, I go in there for 5 minutes, just check a few things. Maybe something's funny, go send it to my friend or to Lazura because we're always sending each other funny tweets.
This is why you don't like my tweets?
Oh yeah, I see yours. Trust me. He always tweets at Tesla. He loves Elon Musk. That's his favorite thing to tweet about. But yeah, I'm more of like I just drop in and I check a few things and then leave. And then also Twitter has that feature where it's, in case you missed it, and it gives you like 5 to 10 tweets that maybe you've missed of, accounts that you interact with the most. But, you don't always get that chance for your brand that's going to pop up in there in case you missed it feature. So, yeah, I think it is important to keep resurfacing those tweets and just be creative with it. Like he said, change maybe the image or the text a little bit, something like that. Maybe add an emoji. I don't know.
And it's important for things too, like knowing who your audience is when you're thinking about
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Definitely knowing who your audience is really important because, if they want to be interacting with you a lot, then you should be on there more often. You can create conversations. That's the best part about Twitter for me. I think that you can talk to brands. A lot of people are tweeting at Southwest or Delta because their flight got delayed, and they'll respond to you. And so, really knowing who your audience is, what their needs are, why they're even on Twitter, I think is really important too, because you can really create that relationship with them in a different way that you can't do on Facebook or Instagram.
Well, and we've talked about, dropping in is probably pretty common amongst us. I certainly drop in and I might spend 5 to 10 minutes on there. I may spend longer. But I think businesses really need to structure why they're on there and figure out the times it's most advantageous for them. A lot of times we consult with clients and we tell them, especially the ones that are attending trade shows, those are priceless times to get in there and use those hashtags for trade shows and interact with people that are excited leading up to the trade show. It's hard to get people to come by your booth unless you have some massive giveaway or you really have an offering that someone wants. But if you can kind of soften that introduction through Twitter before the event even starts, you're able to build a relationship and someone will stop by and now you've got a connection before it even starts. And so there are certain times that you can be more advantageous on Twitter than others. And so you really have to stop and look at, well, what's the strategy here? And
Yeah.
we do a lot of that, strategizing for clients and looking at, some of it is driving traffic back to your website with your blogs, some of it's promoting the events you have or the offers you have. And Twitter advertising is a good way to get in front of people too.
And you rolled in right into my last point was,
Here I am.
how to tweet,
Yes.
what are opportunities to tweet. Perfect one is attending an event, or if you have an event yourself. Trade shows are great for that. There's always a hashtag. You can look up the location. You could just, even keyword search on Twitter. Talk to the attendees. Talk to maybe a keynote speaker. Tag them. Talk to other businesses that are going to be there that maybe have a booth. Even talking about current events. If the Oscars are going on and your business sells movies. that's a great opportunity. Talk about things that are happening in the current time, because that is what Twitter is all about. They're always talking about the latest thing that's happening, the breaking news, all those types of current events. I think is really something to take advantage of on Twitter.
And what's the number one reason people go to Twitter? It's when Facebook and Instagram are down.
Yeah,
and you have
exactly.
to go get it verified, right?
Yeah.
Everyone heads to Twitter.
Instagram crash or Facebook crash.
Yeah,
It's
Facebook
always
down.
on there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, people
But
go
Twitter
there.
is always there.
And then
That's
the Twitter
what I love.
sphere like gives everyone a little bit of beef about it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, now you come because Facebook's down or
Yeah.
Instagram's down.
I hate to break up the conversation about Twitter. I know how.
But those are all my boys anyway.
How much
so.
you do love Twitter. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our last topic that I mentioned. We're gonna talk about kind of our culture here at KWSM, and you are an expert on that.
Yes, I'm cultural. So I think, this is interesting. We don't typically talk about this, but I think there's some benefits for our audience, whether you're a business, you may go through some of these things that may be beneficial for you, just to think of some of the things we do. Also for the people that want to come work for us. A lot of people, I do the hiring, or I help do the hiring, and I am asked a lot of questions about growth, teamwork, the environment, culture. I won't say what our rule is about hiring bad people, but we don't hire bad people. We embrace culture, and while we value skill, we have a dynamic team that works really well together, and when I run through these things, you'll probably understand why. It's a big part of our success for clients and our growth as a team. And we all do grow together, and I'll get into some of the things. So we emphasize continuous learning at KWSM. The first element, there's several of them in here, certification opportunities. We even have our own certification process where we have to be masters of everything, and it's really hard to be that. It's really hard to be super knowledgeable about everything. It's why we have so many different departments. And I would be skeptical if you found one person out there that said they were the end-all be-all of digital marketing, because there's too much to know. I mean, Facebook in and of itself is a beast. And Taylor, who's probably our resident best person on Facebook, has gone through every certification for them, and she knows it front to back, and she knows it at a level that other people, and that takes a lot of mastery. And so, I think this will probably ring true to a lot of our clients. We have accountant clients that have to always go back for continuous education and get more credits or more things towards their CPA license. We have massage therapists that need to get continual education. We have a client that's a massage school that their instructors need to continue getting education. So education's a great thing. Katie always says we're the only industry where our tools change daily.
Yeah,
They do.
I think I was going to say,
Yeah.
and that's why it's so important that we do that, is because our industry is always changing. There's always going to be an update coming on Facebook or Instagram or any of the social media channels, and it's our job to stay on top of that for our clients.
That's what we talk about every week. It seems like
Yeah.
every week in the news, what's going on, what's changing. So very
Yeah, we
important.
have to stay on top of that. We try to relay that to you guys, our audience. So certifications, there are some good ones out there. Google has several free certifications. Moz SEO, while it doesn't have a certification, has a very robust program to learn SEO if you want to learn SEO. Facebook has the Blueprint. Twitter has one, and Instagram has one. And you can take these at your own pace. They're free. There are certainly alternative software as a services that have their own certifications. HubSpot, Hootsuite, Buffer probably has one. Sprout Social, I think, has one. And they've done a good job while they're promoting their service, and we're fans of all those services. We don't use them, but we're fans of all of them. They've done a good job of letting people kind of learn a different approach to these things. And I think there are a lot of resources out there, and I talk to people when I'm hiring, especially people out of college, and they say, well, how do I learn about this? I said, go sit on Twitter. Go sit on Twitter and learn about these things, and then find these certification programs. So certification's definitely been beneficial.
How did you bring it back to Twitter again? That's what
It
I'd
all
like
comes
to
back
know.
to Twitter. I'll find a way with all these things to come back to Twitter. But
I
no,
don't
so
mind.
you sit on Twitter and you get a lot of people talking about what we do and sharing their successes and failures, and a lot of it comes to certifications, that they're certified. And you'll see that on people's LinkedIn as well. I'm Hootsuite certified or HubSpot certified. So certifications are certainly something that make a lot of sense if you're trying to grow your individual career or grow your talent within your company. The next thing we do, this is a lot more casual, and we do these on occasion. They're called lunch and learns. We'll sit around, we'll have someone on the team or maybe somebody else come in and talk to us a little bit. Typically it's someone within our own team, and it may be someone that just went through one of these training certifications and they found something new and interesting about LinkedIn. We're all going to be interested in that because in some various way, shape, or form, we manage LinkedIn for a client. And so it's just a good time to gather the team in a non-stressful environment, grab a couple pizzas, sit there and talk for 45 minutes about something that we do, that you do within your business. But I think that's very advantageous also for our team. It's just, I don't know about you guys could share, but it feels to me like it's a less stressful way to learn. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, definitely. We did have one with Lila with Google Analytics probably like 6 months ago. But it was nice because we each picked one client and we went through the steps with her. And, you know, instead of having someone from outside, it was someone in our internal team who knows who our clients are. She was able to come around, look at all of our stuff, you know, walk through it step by step, and I think it was a lot easier to learn that way.
Yeah, and the next thing that your next bullet point, but it kind of goes hand in hand, is the mentorship program, which is, it's kind of the same thing where we teach each other. One person may be an expert in one area, because like you said, there's so much to know. So they take the other person under their wing and we learn from one another. And we just completed that, and I found that it was so interesting. And I actually did learn a whole lot just from listening to the presentations. And you learned a whole lot about MailChimp and newsletters, and it was pretty amazing what you had learned.
Yeah, so you know, we got to choose what we were interested in, and so I chose email marketing, and so we spent three and a half months learning about it and just like really getting into the nitty gritty of it. We kind of chose what we wanted to learn from it too. So, and then we made a presentation about it, and I mean, I think I learned a ton from just those, you know, 3.5 months working with Rick. So. Yeah, it was really beneficial.
Yeah, and I think Tiffany described it best. I mean, these are deep dives into things. I mean, on the surface level, we know a lot of what we do, you know, every day. We've got a great knowledge base. But with each of these areas of either service or analytics, there's a depth that we could reach that really is down there, and it really provides kind of some interesting kernels of information. Google Analytics, one of them. You know, there are ways to look at the data, and then there are ways to interpret the data, and there are other ways to probably squeeze the data a little bit, whether that's setting up goal tracking or other steps so that you can see flows. And we look at a lot of different things on analytics, and it makes a huge difference because when we sit down with a client, oftentimes they aren't looking at their Google Analytics. They have no idea what's going on and who's visiting them and what people are doing. And when we do that, we really open their eyes to things. And so, yeah, the mentorship program is one that we covered a lot of different areas. We had Google Analytics, we had video, we had email, we had PR, Photoshop. That's right. And one of the beautiful things about our agency is that we have a lot of complementary skills with each other. And so someone could be a master, Tiffany could be a master at something, and I may not be, or Ivana may be, and Tiffany may not be, or vice versa. And I think our collaboration and our ability to get together and understand, well, this person really knows X, let's go talk to them about X. And a week later, that person, someone else may say, hey, this person knows a lot about Y, let's go talk about Y. And so the mentorship program was really good. It allowed us to work one-on-one with, a lot of us were switched inter-officely of our 4 offices. So that was fun. I got to work with someone in Atlanta, Meredith, on our team. And
you guys did quite well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we did.
They took home the gold.
Yes, we did. And then, much to Ivana's displeasure. and no, I'm just kidding.
Sorry about that later.
Yeah. No, I think it was a great opportunity. Ivana worked with Rick. Taylor also worked with Rick. And it spanned our departments. We had salespeople working with content people. And at the end of the day, we all work together on these things for our clients, to benefit our clients. So it doesn't matter who has the right idea or who flips the successful switch, because we're all doing it together. It's like, how many people can change a light bulb here? I mean, we all hold the ladder, right, while someone changes it. And so, yeah, continuous learning is really good. And if you're not doing it at your company, maybe it's something you can consider. And if you're looking to work at a place, we found that a lot of people, when we do interviews, say that one of the things that's typically missing from their current workplace is that they haven't gotten the growth or guidance to grow. They don't know how to grow, and people aren't people aren't entrusting them to grow. People are having them come in and fill a void or do a role, serve a role that they don't necessarily ever feel like they're growing in. And so here we want people to not only grow, but find out what they're passionate about. And that's one of the things Ivana really was passionate about email before that mentorship. And you learned so much, and you provided the team with so many resources out of that. And I think that's where these programs are priceless is. They weren't just learning experiences for two people. Tiffany was a judge in this process, but she learned a whole lot. And we all walked away with something different from each team. And I think that's incredible when you can teach each other, or have someone from the outside come in and teach all of us. We're really open-minded to it. It's something that helps us evolve what we do for you every day.
And speaking of learning, I think we learned a whole lot today.
Yeah.
I learned a little bit. I hope that you guys learned something out there. Thanks so much for joining us. Remember, we will be here next week at the same time. That is 12:30 Pacific time. Or you can check us out on YouTube. So we have all of these on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and you can learn a whole lot more. All right, thanks for joining us. Have a great afternoon.